Listen, Sean McVay comes out with a very, very. I gotta say, D-Fish, you were a head coach in the NBA, man. Like, and you played for. If you were to take a guess in the NBA, how many head coaches did you play for?
Five.
Now, I've had the fortune and misfortune of playing for some great managers and some very fairly subpar managers in my time.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I don't know about you, I've always kind of learned just as much and at times even more from my bad managers than I did my good ones. Mainly so I can kind of learn how things can go wrong so fast with sometimes the wrong guy at the helm, or just messaging is not going for me or the team. Sean McVay is a guy that seemingly has his messaging down pat, and really his players really respect him. They respond to him. His game management is second to none when it comes to the NFL. But he has held himself to a very specific standard, and I really appreciate something that he did the other day when he went on a podcast, and he did some very detailed self-reflection on his own past mistakes. And the only mistake, and the main mistake he really focused on, was his treatment of Jared Goff, specifically when the trade happened between the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams. And I'm giving this quote right here of Sean McVay revealed his regrets of how he handled trading away Jared Goff. "I'm super sensitive to what an amateur I was with the Goff situation. You want to talk about lack of courage, lack of clarity, lack of ability to be able to look somebody in the eye that you've had a lot of really cool experiences with and tell them, hey, not easy to say this, but we might explore an opportunity to acquire Matthew Stafford, and you'll be a part of that trade there." I really, as a player that played in my respected field, hearing this, even though it's after the fact, and I'm sure that wound might even still be there for Jared Goff, that's phenomenal stuff to hear from a head coach, kind of because most head coaches, they'll double down and be like, no, right decision, I did everything right, I'm the man. This is gold. If I'm a player, this is what I want to hear from my head coaches.
Yeah, it's for Sean McVay, like the way he shows up as like the most authentic version of himself on a daily basis is why his players respond to him the way they do. It's why they play so hard. It's why they've been so successful. Not why, their talent is also why. But, I'm not sure how in the NFL, in terms of trade scenarios, if it was in the offseason when it happened.
It was
right?
in the offseason.
Like whereas like on the NBA side, a lot of trades happen during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not be able to have that conversation as an NBA head coach because the trade is happening during the season. You can't go sit down and talk to your superstar guy and say, hey, we might be exploring a trade with you, man, but go out here and score 40 for us tonight, okay? It's not happening.
So are you insinuating that Jason Kidd didn't know what was coming the next day?
Yeah, I was not there. I do not know what Jason Kidd did or did not know.
I'll get to say it.
We'll talk about, we talked about Jason Kidd a little bit yesterday. I'm not a fan of any coaches
ever. I don't like people losing their gigs.
But yeah, it's tough. But Sean McVay, even whether you're right or wrong in certain situations, the ability to stop and pause and reflect on how and where you just could have handled the situation better or differently or in a way that maybe was, more positively impactful for the other person or people involved, that's all you can ask for from another human being. We're not going to all get it right in any situation, in particular in professional sports there's so much involved in terms of, like you said, there's ego, there's money, there are people's jobs on the line. So there's a lot of things that are going wrong because of what all is at stake and how you're trying to balance it all. But Sean McVay appears to just continue to be one of those guys he's always reflecting. He always has a growth and kind of learning mindset, always focused on getting better himself, which I think then allows him to be able to coach his football teams, in a more impactful way. So a lot of courage by him, just great authenticity, from a leader of a pro sports organization. And yeah, man, as a player, that's all you can ask for, from your coach, even when things, go wrong.
Yeah, he even went on to say, it was more really about me than it was ever him. I didn't handle that the right way. Did I ever have the courage to really sit him down after the season in 2020 and really tell him, hey, there's a possibility that we'll explore some of the avenues that might lead to you not being our quarterback moving forward? No. And you know what? Another reason why I love this, these types of self-reflections is probably not the reason, but a reason why he's even grown into the coach that he is today. Like you being a former NBA head coach, do you ever look back at former mistakes going if I did this differently? Or is it kind of a blessing in disguise going I did that wrong. Now I know this.
Yeah, we all have that, almost natural fear of failure or things going wrong. We do so much to try and avoid those scenarios, when in reality, just running face first towards the hard stuff, the failures is really, that's where you learn the most about yourself, which is most importantly, and then that allows you to then be better or more impactful in a situation the next time you're in a similar scenario. And so, yes, as a coach at the NBA level, in the WNBA, also in high school, yes, there are all types of situations where you feel man, I could have handled that differently. I could have done that better, and there are things you can't avoid that even after the fact, you still feel bad about it. There was a scenario where, I go to have lunch with a current player. I have no idea the team is going to cut the player in 48 hours. I have lunch with the player. Our families have lunch together with his family. We're interacting in a normal fashion.
Yeah.
And then a day and a half later, he's cut and released from the team entirely. There's no way he's sitting there at lunch a day and a half earlier thinking that he's going to be cut. And then once he's cut, how can he not think that I already knew about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right.
How can he
now
not
you're the bad guy
now
right out
I'm
the
the
gate.
bad guy, even though I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
There are other scenarios where, yes, you're not sure how to call a player in, sit him down, and say, yeah, man, we're going to need to go in a different direction. I have to cut your minutes some. We're going to have to think about playing a different way. It's not going to involve, you as much offensively as you would like to, but learning those things as a young coach, like Sean McVay's still a young NFL head coach, you're going to make a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the ownership group with the Rams, the Kroenke family is who they are. And so that also is a blessing in disguise when you end up with the right ownership group and the right type of front office leaders. So as an NFL head coach, you get to learn through those mistakes, and you get to learn through some of the failures and coming up a little short in a couple seasons, and then being able to come back as a better version of yourself and lead the team to more success in the future. If the ownership group and the front office know that they have their guy and they know what he's made of, then you don't make changes as quickly.
Yeah.
And Sean McVay is one of those guys that they know they picked the right guy.
They did.
And so then they get
really
to ride
did.
through the ups and downs of what the experience is going to be like.
Yeah, and it's also it's the word I want to use for McVay, especially with this reflection that he's given. It's accountability. If there's one thing I want from my head coach, no matter where he is, it's accountability. And I'll not to throw this salacious story out there, but the exact opposite, I feel like what we're getting out of New England, with the Mike Vrabel situation. I understand how you've decided to handle this, but the lack of accountability you've taken is kind of a problem. And honestly, seemingly more people are upset about the lack of accountability than the actual quote-unquote crime you committed, which doesn't really affect your football team at all, but your behavior and actions after that certainly do. The immediate denials and all of this, where Sean McVay just gets right in front of it and says, I did this, I messed up. I need to learn from it. I just think we need more of that in our sports and our head coaches.
No, I 100% agree with the accountability part. I would disagree in terms of the scenarios are different.
They are definitely different.
Vrabel's is, I would say, it appears to impact his professional life because we know about it. But in reality, it's a
affecting his personal
personal,
life.
private situation.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's our business because he coaches the New England Patriots, but it's not really our business.
Completely agree.
The accountability may be happening professionally inside of their building. We don't know what he and Robert Kraft have talked about. We don't know what conversations he's had with Drake May and the leaders of that football team, the conversations he's had with his coaching staff, whether he's apologized, taken accountability, responsibility for those things internally, but publicly, my personal life is a private thing that I don't have to take accountability to fans for making a personal decision may or may not be in alignment with who I am.
No, you're right about that.
But from a football perspective or professionally, Sean McVay is able to go out and say openly, publicly, I take accountability for not handling this situation very well in regards to our football team and our players. That's different from an accountability perspective, even though, like I said, I agree with parts of what you're saying and would add other things to it in terms of like the situations being different.
Of course. And they are absolutely different. Make no mistake.